Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Identity Project. Today, I have a fellow Instagrammer with me, somebody I kind of met, I guess, through the Instagram world, and I always joke about with a lot of people around just like the whole topic of social media and podcasting and Instagram and like just all the connections that I've made through social media. So a lot of people talk about the good or the bad, but hey, there's some good to it as well. So. Without further ado, Mr. Mitch Harb, how are you, buddy? What's going
What's
on?
up, my man? What's up? Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. It's crazy how many people you probably know now that you would have never even come close to being able to know.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally, like almost on a daily, if not weekly schedule, like I'm, meeting people and connecting people that like, pull social media away, like that never would have happened. So, I definitely get caught scrolling sometimes and wasting time, and there's the negative, side of it and comparing yourself to others and all that. But, I think all in all, it definitely can be a good thing if that's what you're looking for.
100%, 100%.
Well, Mitch, so like I like to do on the podcast here, I love just kind of diving back into people's stories and not like the last 5 years or so, but actually really diving back and like taking people all the way back to like elementary school days. So, dude, let's do a little flashback here and take you way back. Where did you grow up at? Were you in Washington? Is that where you grew up at, or?
Yep, grew up in like south of Seattle, place called Federal Way, and then Kent area.
Very nice, very nice. And were you? Did you have brothers and sisters? Were you only child, or?
Had a sister, a younger sister, and then some step siblings that were one was about my age, and then the others were a little younger as well.
Got it. Got it. So knowing like, what you do now, and obviously we'll dive into that a little bit later, but kind of talk us through like what did the elementary school days look like to you? Were you like into sports from a young age, or like what did that look like?
Yeah, man. Like I was always just active, playing pretty much every sport you could think of. And like when I wasn't, I was, running around doing something. So that was just always a big part of my life was, if I wasn't playing a sport, I'd have like a heavy bag and I'd just be hitting that. I'd be like shooting hoops and pretty much I played all sports growing up and then really just dove into football quite a bit. That was kind of where I excelled the most and I enjoyed it the most. And so then kind of rode that all through high school and played basketball as well. But again, at the end was like, all right, I'm probably not doing much on the court anywhere. And I saw football as like my opportunity. So I went down that route in high school, had some good seasons, and then was trying my best to get a scholarship and got like a couple like partial offers. I didn't really want to go to the schools, and I was just like, you know what? I think it's time to just give the dream up. So that was kind of the end of my sports career.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, no, I mean, that definitely resonates with me. I was, I guess, at a little bit different point. So same thing. It was football. I only got one offer to go play in college, and it was at this like little NAI school in Kansas. And I actually ended up going because I just wanted to say that I played college football. Like, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming from Texas football, like I went up there, my weight room was better in high school. Our football field was better in high school, all the equipment, like everything. So I was just like, I did it for one semester and I was like, I'm out.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
But dude, so how did you like I mean, obviously football is what really kind of took off for you, but like what were I guess kind of the athletes back in that time that were influencing you?
I mean football for sure. So like I at first was a wide receiver and then so I liked all the, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss and all them. And then I kind of started realizing I was a little better at defense, just like most people are afraid to tackle growing up. I never was. And I enjoyed making hits and kind of reacting. And so I loved Ed Reed. I just liked his style. Sean Taylor was awesome to watch for as long as he lasted. And yeah, man. I mean, obviously the Seahawks out here, big shout out to the Legion of Boom, Sherm, and all those guys. But yeah, and football was also what really got me into weightlifting and all that stuff. Because obviously, when I quit doing other sports, it was to lift so I could get bigger for football. So it's crazy to think I've been weightlifting for like 15 years now. Like more than half my life. But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you resonated with this, but I played sports and all of that, but like I always found that like being in the weight room was what I like really excelled at. That like, I was okay at football, but like I was like the best pound per pound in the weight room. We actually had powerlifting at my school,
really,
which a lot of high schools don't have that, but I was lucky enough to have that, which we had regionals and state and like all of that. So I actually legitimately knew that pound per pound, I was like one of the strongest kids in the state.
oh
Uh,
wow.
but I excelled in powerlifting. Like I was always better at that. I was better at being in the weight room than I was on the field.
Yeah. Well, I kind of took it as like I've never really understood how people are afraid of weightlifting because like that was always the easy part for me, kind of like you said, like going out on the field, that was the scary part. Like you could mess up, you could make a bad play, you could get embarrassed, you could lose the game. Whereas like weight room, oh, I don't hit my lift, like I don't care, So it never really made sense when people were like, I'm scared to go to the gym. But I mean, I get it, but yeah, just for my situation, I was like, no, that's like my safe spot.
Yeah. So did your dad get you in, or was it a dad or like, what was, I guess, like who first introduced football to you?
Um, my dad, we would just always watch it together. Like when I was real young, and right away, I just like when you're young, you kind of like study things. You just can't stop watching it, and like I would know all the players, and I'd always say like I wanted to play. So I think I was like 8 or 9, and that's when I started like the little pee wee stuff.
Got it.
Um, yeah, and then my dad did kind of get me into just fitness in general, so that was also what gave me like a love for working out. And because even before like I got to junior high or high school, like we would go to the gym and just do certain things.
Yeah. So the lifting, did that start like seventh grade? Is that right? Or
Yeah, about seventh or eighth grade.
yeah. Yeah, I think that was right about the same time as me. And I think it's just, I'm like having flashbacks now. I'm just thinking back to like my middle school, like lifting days versus like now. And I'm like, oh, wow, what a journey. Right. Like, and that's the thing, that comes to mind too. It's just like, man, like think about the people that don't start working out until they're 20 or 30 or 40. Like, I mean, it's like second nature for us because we've been doing it since we're in seventh grade. But, you know, like I just have, I guess, so much empathy for people that start later because it's like, man, like I can't even imagine.
It's tough because you've got so much other things going on. Whereas back then, like, what else did you have than like going and messing up? Whereas now it's like it feels like you don't have that time.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and because you have that time, you're able to actually like learn those new skills essentially.
Yep.
Like with this, it's like, oh, if you only have an hour a day to dedicate or whatever, it's going to take much longer than back in the day when you had unlimited time to be out in the front yard doing whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of how I look. I like always wish I like learned to play an instrument back then because I had so much time. Whereas now it's like, man, I got so many other things that I probably should be doing instead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the balance of life, I guess, going forward, right? It's like prioritizing, I guess, what's important to us, but there's only so much time.
Yeah.
I actually played the saxophone in middle school.
There you go,
So
sax man.
yeah, did that a little bit. I think I wanted to play the drums, but I don't know if it was just full or maybe I didn't make it or I don't remember, but yeah, I ended up playing the saxophone. So yeah, off on that tangent there. But so talk to me a little bit more about like what type of kid were you? Like, were you obviously you were athletic, you played sports, but like, were you like the popular kid? Like, did you get in trouble? Like, were you just making straight A's? Like, what type of kid were you?
Yeah, I look back to it and I was like growing up, I was somewhat of a shy on the shy side, and I was kind of like one who would like I had friends. I wasn't like the standout or anything, and that's kind of why I took the sports because it was like you don't really have to like be someone who's got the center of attention on you. You just go play your sport and kind of like do your job, and if people want to watch, they can watch. Um, and then growing up as I got a little older, I kind of started to come out of my shell a little more, and that was just high school days, just like, all right, if I want to like be a little happier, I should probably try and figure out how to get over like social anxieties and things like that. And but yeah, I mean, sports definitely did help with that. As far as like getting in trouble or getting straight A's, I think I was pretty balanced. Like I school was always pretty easy for me. I never had to like try that hard to pass. So after a certain point, I was like, I remember starting in like middle school, like trying really hard to get straight A's, and then I was like, what if I just don't try that hard? And then I would still pass, and I was like, okay, I'm not I'm not doing this. Like I never really liked that type of school. Kind of how like Gary Vee always talks about it. Like I didn't care about Mars or Saturn or anything like that. I just knew if I fill in the assignment, like I'll pass the class type of thing. Um,
Yeah, that was definitely me too. I was the kid that showed up relentlessly Monday through Friday for my 6 a.m. workouts, but then would go straight into my first class and put my head on the desk and sleep through the whole class.
right.
But yeah, I was just, obviously I keep diving into me. Obviously this podcast is not about me, but yeah, man, I just a topic on the school. Like, did you ever feel like you, because I know now, like, doing, with all these different platforms, like for me, learning through audios, like podcasts, audiobooks, videos, like that's what really works the best for me. And I remember back in elementary school, literally thinking I was stupid because I couldn't read. Like I had dyslexia, I had ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. Was that you too, or?
Uh, no, I do remember like there was just I never read. I just I was good at like just understanding what the teacher wanted. Like I said, like I knew they wanted just to like the fill in the blank stuff, and I was like, all right, well, all the answers are right here. I'll just like fill that in. Um, but yeah, I remember like I could never get myself to do much of the learning that actually counted. And then it was a crazy game changer, like even after college, when I was like, what if I read something that I actually liked or that I knew would actually help me? I think it was like I read something about like personal finance, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is actually gonna like benefit my life. I like reading this. I want to read this, and that like opened the doors because in school, like I didn't care about reading like Romeo and Juliet or whatever. Or I never was one that like read all the Harry Potter books or anything like that. I just hated doing that.
Yeah. So I guess for you, it wasn't that like you just plain out just didn't like doing it.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I mean, even now, like my wife will joke with me because like she could literally read the same book like 3 times in the time it takes me to read it once. But it wasn't so much that I like hated it. It was just more of that I just sucked so bad at it, and I was good at sports, and so I hated sucking at stuff.
I think yeah, and I was just like I said, I was so active. I couldn't really sit still like that. Like to sit down and like try and focus on the words. I was like, man, I would rather just go shoot a basketball or something. Like I just want to be moving.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. So what did you as you're going through high school and I guess as you have the realization that you're not going to go play in the NFL, what did that mindset shift kind of look like? Were you like, all right, like I need to figure out like what I'm going to go to college for? Like what do I want to study? Like what did that transition kind of look like?
Yeah, I look back and something that I am passionate about helping people with is like that period and like actually trying to figure things out because I really didn't. I thought, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a scholarship, get my college paid for, and then I'll see what happens after that. And I didn't think about anything else. And then it just didn't happen. I was like, all right, well, now what? And I was like, well, let's just go get the full college experience. I'm going to go and like do what everyone talks about college. And I think the song I Love College by Asher Roth came out. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be doing. And so I just went there and I was like, I'll just get a business degree and I'll figure it out. And pretty much partied a lot and didn't really think about what I was going to do afterwards. I just did it. And then I got out and got a job. And that's, you know, I, it's kind of a two-faced thing because I look at it as like a mistake, but that mistake is what led me eventually to getting to where I am now. Because when I got out and got a job, I was like, I absolutely hate this. Like what am I doing? I can't do this for the rest of my life. And being at that, I guess technical rock bottom of like hating this, like pushed me to start trying to figure other things out. Like I was like, this can't be it. So I started listening to podcasts and I think the first ones I listened to were like Tim Ferriss and Lewis Howes and that kind of expanded my mind. Like, oh wait, you can actually like do the things you want to do. You can actually like pursue dreams, and you should have dreams. And then I like just started opening doors and one easy win at a time, just trying to figure it out. And eventually got me to where I'm at now. But yeah, it really kind of took that like rock bottom to say like I don't want to live like this anymore.
Yeah. Wow. I something similar happened to me too. It wasn't a job, it was more of me getting in trouble, but same like rock bottom, like realization, like, like crap, I'm gonna die, like I only have one life, like, one chance, all that. Were you like how long did that take though, right? Because you'll hear people say, like you might know you freaking hate it the first day, but people will be like, oh, well, you need to stick it out and like, see if like, that type of thing, right? Maybe your parents or whatever it was. So how long were you at that job before you finally quit?
Yeah, no, I mean it. So I was at that job, and yeah, like the first day, I was like, "This sucks," but I didn't know any different. I was like, "This is just how life is." That's what I thought. I was like, so I guess going back to the football thing, I thought, all right, I didn't make it in football. Like that's it. Like that's your only shot at living like a great life. Because no one was talking about like entrepreneurs and like other ways that people lived. It was like you saw the athletes, the stars, and then it was like the people who hate their job at corporate America. And I was like, well, I missed the boat. This is and so when I was sitting there hating the job, I was just like, this is just what it's like. And then, as time went on, I started listening to those podcasts. It expanded my mind. So I was at that job for a couple years just because, you know, I wasn't really ready to really go all in on this stuff. I knew I hated it, but it also afforded me the ability to continue to go out on the weekends and buy dumb stuff. So I wasn't really ready to go full in, and then got another job back home. I took this job out in Portland, and then got another job back home because I was like, whatever I can do to get out of that job, I'll do it. And I knew I wasn't gonna like it, but it got me back home with all my friends and stuff like that. And that was where I was like, all right, I just can't. I got to make an actual move. I know it's going to hurt in the beginning, like because I'm going to have to give up a lot of things that I didn't want to give up, but I've got to like prioritize myself. And so that was when I really started like trying to figure out what I was even going to do. That's kind of when um all this content started coming out that I would produce, and that's kind of when I started just like the podcast. I started producing content. I started learning more, um, and I was like, all right, I think I've got a good route. So I didn't just like quit, day one and just go figure it out. I had a good route on where I was going to go, a good vision, and then really just left the job pretty recently to do it all full time.
Nice. That's very cool. One thing I really stood out to me on that is the mindset or the process. I guess it's more of a mindset of like being ready, right? Because
Yeah.
it was, very similar for me. Like I started our company, which is now iCoach, basically like a little over a year ago. And I was in the fitness and nutrition space for like 8 years in person before I ever jumped and went all in online. So, but what was it? I mean, obviously you started having these thoughts started maybe occurring more often. The podcast was obviously influencing you, but like, did you hire like a mentor, a coach? Like, did somebody just like kick you in the ass and say, do it? Like, I mean, what happened for you to finally do it?
To finally quit or to finally like actually start on the process?
Start on the process, right?
Um,
Like, so what made you give up those things that you knew you were going to have to give up to finally go all in?
yeah, so it was interestingly enough, like when I got that new job out here, I was dating someone pretty seriously, and then like it just didn't really work out, and like she actually like broke up with me, and I was so sad. Like I didn't even understand it. I was like, yeah, it's a sad breakup or whatever, but I was like, I like couldn't. It was hard to get out of bed and stuff, and like I just didn't want to do anything, and like I was just getting way drunker than I used to even, and I was just like, what is going on? And I realized like it wasn't necessarily the relationship. It was that like I wasn't happy with who I was becoming and the route that I was going on, and like that relationship kind of was just a cover up. It was like the Band-Aid for it.
Mm.
And once that got pulled, I was just like, man, forget all that other stuff, like going out and all that. Like, you've got to give that stuff up now to go and do the things that you really want to do and live that life that you really want to live and be that person that you really want to be. And so it was kind of back to that rock bottom type thing. I was like, I didn't care anymore about all that stuff, like impressing other people and things like that, and going out all the time. Like I was like, I'll give up my weekends now to just try and figure this stuff out. And so from there, I was just like, grind. I gotta come up with things. I gotta like connect with as many people as I can. And so like I helped other people out on their businesses for free for a while, just to like build up skills and try and learn something until I got like the idea of what I wanted to do myself.
Got it. Man, I love that. I think that's a piece of advice that Gary Vee gives a lot. And this is something I have two brothers and sisters that are in their first year of college. But he talks a lot about like going to, either starting your own business, one, or two, going and working for somebody, that is doing something that you may want to do, and entering for free. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm such a big believer in that. And I think that, like I'm sitting here literally giving this advice to my brother and sisters coming out of college, so that's awesome, man. So talk to us a little bit more. I think people obviously have some context and background now, but talk to us like, so what that was kind of the history. So what do you do now? I think there's a lot of, I'm just looking at your Instagram bio here and there's a few different things there. So tell us kind of what you do now.
Yeah. So I do a few things. So I do nutrition coaching online. I train in person, so I teach group classes. I do one-on-one personal training. I've got out all this. I also launched a product called Savage Oats, just an overnight oats product. And yeah, I also have the podcast, Easy Wins podcast. That's kind of been like a mentoring session for me. Just like that helped me just expand my mind. When you talk to other people that are doing it, you're like, oh, all right. Like it kind of goes back to what you said about working with those people who are doing the things you want to do. Is like it almost just gives you the confidence that you can do it. When you're sitting there, the guy, it's a real person, like why not you? That type of thing. And you just get the opportunity to learn from them. But yeah, I think that's about everything I'm doing right now.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that, man. I remember like growing up my whole life, and I always knew that like I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be successful, and I had no idea why. It was probably more of like caring about what other people thought about me back then.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that really started to bridge the gap for me is at 18 years old, I started doing personal training. And obviously, personal training is not cheap. Like people are paying, I think I was working at 24 Hour Fitness, and it was like 50, 60, $70 per session. And so, you have these people that are coming in that can afford to pay that. So a little bit more successful, and me surrounding myself with them, being in that environment, talking with them, and starting to really bridge that gap between where I was at and where I wanted to be. Not necessarily where I even knew where I wanted to go, but I think that was huge. I think that environment piece is amazing. And now, like you said, with podcasting, like guys, it's free. Like download the podcast, like listen to a podcast every single day. Like
Yeah.
find the time. I mean, this is something I talk with even like nutrition clients with all the time, like how many people have a 30-minute commute to work every morning? Like if you're not listening to a podcast on your way to work to set this tone for the day, to get in the right mindset, like why not? Like
Wasting time. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, man, I'm a huge, huge believer in that. So I want to dive into a few different things here. On the personal trainer, like group class side of things, knowing that you got your degree in business, did you I guess, how did that all happen? Because was it kind of one of those things where it was like, I was an athlete my whole life, I was good at working out, like I know I can help people with that? Or
Yeah. That was when I had to do some like soul searching, and I was reading things on like how to start a business and stuff. And it was like, well, what do you feel like you can add value to someone's life with? And I was just like, it's like, so what are you good at? What do you gravitate towards? That was actually someone, a mentor of mine. They asked me that question. They're like, what are the things you're drawn to on a daily basis? I was like, man, I don't know. And throughout all this time, like since seventh grade until that day, like I had never stopped working out. I was always in the gym, but I just didn't say like that was my thing. And then I was like, working out, I guess. And I was like, wait, like I'm always working out. Like, why am I not like trying to make this what I do? And so from there, I didn't, it wasn't like, all right, I'm going to go ask people to personal train them. From there, I was just like, all right, now I've got to like see what this game is even all about. I know how to work out myself. So then, just went and really did my research, talked to a lot of people in the space. That was kind of why I started the podcast too, was just like, hey, how did you get to where you are? Like, how can I start to learn? So, got my certifications, and obviously dove into all the new research because it's always evolving. And then, man, it's another good reason for connecting and working and surrounding yourself with those people is that whole network is your net worth thing, because like that has been easily the biggest game changer for me, is just, meeting one person here. Like I met one person, they introduced me to another person. That's how I started working at a gym to coach the classes. Like, and from there, like that was how like I got some online nutrition clients. And then from there, that was how I met another gym who like helped me and allowed me to personal train there. And like, it's literally like, I'm like, man, everywhere I go, I got to meet everybody because you never know. You never know when it's going to come back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I joke all the time. I'm like, I stalked Jason on Instagram for 2 years before I finally reached out. And then he ended up mentoring me through my whole entire first year of business. And through that mastermind, I met so many people. So yeah, man. And, you know, as being like an entrepreneur, you know, doing like your own thing, like it can be such a lonely journey. And so, you know, just like you said earlier, like even on the podcast, just being able to like connect with other people that have, you know, maybe been there, done that, and can kind of help you through some of those hard times. Because, you know, like that's the battle. It's like there's good times, there's bad times, just like anything else in life. But you know, being an entrepreneur is not easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also just like, so like you said, someone that can understand it too, because a lot of people will be like, you don't even have to go into work every day. Like what? Like what's so bad? It's like, all right, you don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, just what I tell those people is it's like, look, like you're right. But if you're an entrepreneur that lives that way, that doesn't put boundaries on yourself, doesn't set restrictions and limits and like treat it like you do have a boss, then it's gonna fail. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like could I sit here and sleep in one day or whatever and it not necessarily matter? Sure, maybe. But like when I'm thinking about the long game, like no, that's like I just don't do that because that's not who I am, you know.
That's not
Um,
why. Yeah, that's not why I did this. Was to like do that. You know.
Right. It's I think it's the constant reminder of like never taking this opportunity for granted, because like this is a blessing and opportunity, and like, you know, we could like this could all be done in a second. Like who knows? Instagram and Facebook and podcast platforms and all that could just be pulled and go away, and like who knows? You know, but yeah, I definitely don't want to take it for granted, because one, it's an opportunity to really create impact in this world and like help a lot of people. I mean, you know, like living in those four walls of a personal trainer, gym, or studio or whatever, it's like, you know, you can only help so many people. So through
Right.
the podcast, through the social media content, now your reach goes to 10,000 people, you know, whoever. So that's
Exactly.
awesome, man. I love that. So what about the Savage Oats here? So how did that all kind of manifest?
So it was like, early on in my health journey, nutrition, that's kind of why I got into the nutrition coaching. Was like, I'd always been fit, but I never knew anything about nutrition, and I didn't really care about it because I didn't have to. And then, as time went on and I'm falling asleep in my desk every day at work, like something's got to change. And so when I started figuring things out, that just the overnight oats was one of the things that really helped me. It was a high protein breakfast that I could get in, that was easy, tasted good, and I just would eat that every day for a long time. And then when I started like building a personal brand on Instagram, I would always share that I was eating it, and people would always ask me what it is, and I was like, it's not overnight oats. I don't want to call it that, because that's like, there's so many different kinds of overnight oats, and it wasn't really the same, because I would add protein to it, and I was like, it's Savage Oats. I don't know, and right when I said that, people were like, what? I want Savage Oats, and I was like, oh, all right, let me show you videos on how to make it. And I was just like, people were asking me, like 5 people a day were just like, what are Savage Oats? How do I make them? And I would be like typing it out all day, every day, like tagging them in videos. And then I was like, I'm spending so much effort to show these people. Why don't I just make it myself? And, kind of just went down the whole rabbit hole of how to launch a product and how to do all that stuff. And it was a fun process to get it going. Um, and, originally I wanted it to be like the finished product that you could buy, like kind of like a Greek yogurt cup or something. But that was really, really tough. And it was going to be really difficult to ship and expensive. So I kind of started out with just selling the dry products, and like, hey, you mix this with whatever, Greek yogurt or almond milk that you want, and you can call it Savage Oats. And so that's where I'm at right now. And it's been a journey, just kind of learning the whole product and food game, but just another fun little project.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that you have like just that mentality around it. You know, it's like it's just another little like fun project along the journey of life, you know, like not necessarily putting, I don't know, all these outside expectations and crazy stresses on yourself, but more so just, you know, just a part of what you're doing, I guess. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, because like people ask me all the time, like, how is it? Is it in stores? Is it like blah blah blah? I'm like, listen, like there's so much that goes into all that, and like eventually, yeah, I want it to be, but yeah, like you said, I'm not trying to be like, because I got that way at a point where it's like feels like you're failing a little bit. But in the end of the day, like you've been saying, this is the long game. I'm not trying to get rich quick in 30 days and like bail out. Like I just like doing this stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think that's a good transition right there. How many clients do you work with around kind of like and coaching through that topic of like what we're combating, right? Like, I mean, everybody out there is selling 30-day this, you know, quick fix this, take this pill, take this green tea or fit tea, tummy tea, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
like what's your just, I guess, kind of opinion around just, I don't know, the state of nutrition here in 2019?
Yeah, it is tough. Like I've recently, like in the last couple weeks, had to like turn down a couple clients because they're like, I only want to do this for 1 month and that's it. And I'm like, listen, like I'm not gonna just take your money. Like there's no point because you're gonna be disappointed in the value you get because I can't change your life in 1 month. I mean, maybe someone can, but I don't feel like I really can. And anyone that comes in with those expectations, like you're just it's just not gonna work out for you. So I think it is tough because then someone else will say that they can get them all these results in 30 days, and maybe they'll show them the wrong way to do it. Like, of course you cut all your calories and you might lose a good amount of weight that you're just going to gain all back. So I think it really does come with, I think it's getting better, and there's a lot of people putting out good content that there wasn't access to a long time ago. Like I didn't have access to all this when I was growing up. So that's cool, but it still is crazy how short term and short sighted a lot of people are. But that's the game. That's why we are where we're at, because we have that opportunity to change that and little by little kind of break that down.
Yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts on like how much of it do you think it's people that just don't know? Like maybe think back to like your first year of getting into the game, you know, versus like they know exactly what they're doing and like they're literally just like taking advantage of people.
As far as
Maybe
other
like a
coaches type
like
thing.
like a percentage, like if you know, because I mean I know that there's people that are, because it's so easy to put content up, right? So I know that there's a lot of people that are putting content up and maybe they think that they're doing good but they're not.
Yeah.
And then there's other people out there that know exactly what they're doing and they're just trying to sell a product and taking advantage of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting topic because it is crazy how, like, for someone to sell, like, a lot of times you have to somewhat convince yourself that what you're doing is good. So sometimes I'm like, you know, are these people just literally like convincing themselves that they are doing a good thing? Um, but I think there are a lot of people who just, maybe it's not the worst intentions, like they don't really want to like hurt anybody or cause anyone harm, but a lot of people just want that quick buck. Like a lot of people hit me up all the time like, whoa, especially quitting my job and doing things like, I want to quit my job and do this stuff. Like, how do you get clients? How do you build an audience? And I'm like, it takes time. I don't, everyone wants like, oh, the special hashtag. That's what they always ask. What hashtag are you using in this and stuff like that? Or they'll ask for like one specific app. And I'm like, I can give you all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you got to actually provide some real value for people. Um, and honestly, like when I got started in this, a lot of people explained it like it could happen pretty fast. Like you could just put up an Instagram page and you just have clients rolling in, and like it would be all good. You'd be six figures, and there's all those courses like six figures and 60 days or whatever. And um, it does suck because that is kind of what's driving a lot of people to get started, when in reality, like, you got to know your stuff. You got to do this for a while. It's going to take time. And if you really just want to make a quick buck, like, there are other things you can try and do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, I remind people all the time, like, because the same people who reach out. I mean, whether it's on the nutrition side and they want to, they want to pay $99 for a meal plan, and I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna give you a meal plan. Like,
Yeah.
or if anything, if you really want a meal plan, I'll just give you one for free. I'm not gonna like charge you for a meal plan.
Right.
I'm definitely not gonna charge you to give you your macros. That's for sure.
Right.
um, but there's that side of it. But yeah, I agree. It's definitely an interesting conversation, and I mean, really the only thing that I can do is just continue to surround myself and be around kind of a community of people that do actually care and actually are putting out the effort and the content that is there to help people. Like, I mean, I remind people of like me being in the field working one-on-one or like in a group setting in person for 8 years, like nutrition degree, like all these certifications, like working with thousands of people, like, and I was still scared to go online, like,
Right.
and to actually start talking about stuff and all that, because it was still like, oh, I don't want, blah, 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 to read my content and think it's bad, or, and then I realized all those people aren't even paying attention to my content. So it doesn't matter.
Right.
But that's awesome, man. So who's your, well, actually, let me ask this. When was the first time, we're in 2019 now, April. So when did you first put out a piece of content on social media that was like meant to help people?
I think it was 2017 now. What I started with was like, I was like, hey, I've been able to stay lean and in decent shape. And I was like, kind of back to like, what have you done that could help somebody? And I would just go on Snapchat and I'd be like, hey, this is just what I do. Like, here's what I eat. Here's me at the gym. Like, here's why I'm able to go to the gym, because I like doing this. Maybe you should find that, and just little things. And then I was like, in my head, I was like, I've never done anything crazy, right? Like, I never did like the keto diet, and now I swear by it. I never did like a bodybuilding show. I was like, man, I've just been consistent. And what have I been consistent with? Just little things, like, here's how I get the amount of water I need every day, and like things like that. And then I was like, it's just been a compilation of just little things. So then I called them easy wins one day, and I was like, I like that. I like that. And then I started sharing a little more of those. And as far as Instagram goes, this is a question people always ask too, is like, how do I start posting content? I'm like, you just got to start with what you can do. I think I was doing like, I was like, I got to just get consistent with 3 days a week, just let me get 3 days a week. And then I started getting good at that. And then you'll be able to add another one in, and then so on and so on. And kind of just the same easy wins philosophy with your health. Like, that's how you're going to build your brand too. And then, you do other things that you realize will kind of create the content for you. Like I did the podcast. And then I was like, all right, now I've I've got a solid few content pieces that I can use, and it's just build up from there.
Yeah, I love that, man. I completely agree. It's been and I think going back to what we've said now like 3 or 4 times in the podcast of like play the long game, like fall in love with the process. Like in the beginning, you might not fall in love with the process, and that's okay because it's new, right? And it's
Mhm.
something that you might not want to necessarily be doing in the short term, but you do want the outcome. So I love that. Dude, a couple more questions for you. What was obviously, how long have you been doing the podcast now?
About like a year and a half or so.
Nice, nice. Very cool. What's been your favorite episode thus far?
Favorite episode. I think I got lucky in the early days. Like I just reached out to people and got some pretty good guests. I don't know, Doc Jen Fit.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to her. She came on, and then she connected me with Kaiser Fit. I don't know if you know her.
Yep.
And Be Well by Kelly Levesque. And she connected me with those two, and I was like, dang, these are huge. And then I reached out to Jordan Sayat, and he was like, yep, I'm down. And I was like, dang. And then I had like Amanda Bucci, and this is all like my first few guests. I was like, this is awesome. And so as far as like favorite one, I remember those days because I was just so hyped up about like getting to talk to all these people that I'd always followed and things like that. But like favorite episode, I really enjoyed. Do you know the flexible dieting lifestyle, Zach?
Zach. Yep.
Yeah, he was really cool. I think I just wasn't expecting. I thought he was just like I don't know, a guy who like made recipes, but he's got a lot of depth to him, and he's a really cool dude with a good story. I really enjoyed that one, and then I'm trying to think of who recently. Mary Shanuda, the paleo chef.
Actually, I don't think I know her.
She's pretty cool. I've been following her for a while, and she had a lot of good stuff. When you have a good interview. I mean, actually, honestly, every podcast I jump off and I'm like, I'm energized afterwards. So I'm just trying to think back to like when I was really energized, and Doc Gen Fit. That was actually the first one I ever did, and I remember I was so hyped up that I actually did it because I was like had no idea what I was doing. Once I hit like the end record button, I was like, I gotta go for a run or something, man. Like I can't believe it. But yeah, I mean, pretty much all of them I've really enjoyed because you get to learn something about that person. And it seems like you'll always take like one thing away. Maybe it's a little quote, or maybe it's a way they said something, or something you learned completely new. But it's just fun, man. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've had the same experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's literally, I started this podcast like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago ish, something like that. And I've cranked out like almost 60 podcast interviews thus far.
What?
Yeah. I start every single day off listening to a podcast. I record all the time. Like I love, because I mean, like think about it. Like before this, when did we ever pencil in a time with another human being for 1 hour just to talk to them? Like
Right.
human connection matters. And like, we talk about nutrition and sleep and workouts but like connection, like relationships, like that's really important too.
Yeah. No, and I think I was talking to all these guests that I have, and it's like it's kind of weird to say that like a lot of them like I probably wouldn't talk to if I didn't have the podcast, like a lot of people are busy,
Yeah.
and so it's like, all right, let me just record it and edit it and help you, because it's a way to help other people too. That's kind of why I liked it. Was just like, it's just mutually beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. I always tell people, I'm like, it's literally the easiest way to like introduce or go to somebody with a value add rather than what, you see and hear about, like Gary Vee talks about all the time, where people are just reaching out and they're like, can I have this or do this? And they always want, but they don't ever come with like actually giving and wanting to add value to that person. So speaking of that, dude, I could probably sit here and talk to you all day long. But I really appreciate you taking the time today. And it's, again, I love the connecting. I think it's just so cool to kind of learn more about people's stories. So where can everybody find you at on social media? And that way they can go and see kind of what you're all about now. And then now they have the context is kind of how you got there. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So at Easy Wins Mitch on Instagram, mitchellharb.com, Easy Wins podcast. So just remember Easy Wins and look around and you'll probably find me.
I love that, man. Easy Wins. That's one that'll stick in your head for sure. That's awesome, dude. Well, hey, what are you most excited about here for 2019? Anything you have in the works that you want to share, or anything big coming up here for you this year that you want to celebrate?
Quitting my job, doing this full time now is really been a cool experience. That's kind of what I'm dedicating 2019 is just like kind of learning it all, man. I know you probably gone through it yourself. Just kind of, it's a new experience. You got to learn. Everything's different. And I know there's going to be a lot of ups. I know there's going to be a lot of downs, and I'm just excited for the ride and I'm excited to also like just double that impact, doing all this stuff on the side. It was great. And, getting to help people as well. But now it's like, now I can fully invest my energy and time into creating as much impact as possible.
I love that, man. I love that, dude. Everything you're about, man. I love it. I'm excited to kind of connect, and dude, we'll probably have to get you on here again at some point. But dude, thanks for taking the time, and we'll chat soon.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate you, man.